a maximum of 701 billion naira over the next 2 years to ensure that those who produce power actually get paid for it. Because government is the guaranteed bulk buyer of electricity through NBET. And NBET is not paying because NBET sells the power through vesting contracts to the discos. Now, the discos can't collect for all sorts of reasons. Some their fault, some their business decisions, some the fiscal policy environment in which they have to operate.
Is this 700 billion naira now with NBET, or is this still a plan?
It's not with NBET. Now, there is a facility to NBET that central bank is arranging, such that whatever differential from what the discos should pay and what they actually pay, NBET can take from that amount and pay the GENCOs, because they're actually producing power. And some of them want to invest in equipment, they want to maintain and repair equipment. Some of them are also indebted, those who are using gas, are also indebted to their gas suppliers, who are indebted to their bankers.
The reason I ask this, and I wanted a very specific answer, is the 700 billion naira that has been approved. Yes. Does NBET have access to it as we speak?
Oh yes, NBET has access to it.
Because in the past we've heard of monies approved for NBET, but NBET says that money never got to it.
I don't know the money that you're talking about that was approved for NBET. NBET tried to raise a bond and it was stopped. So this time it's a monthly payment based on verification that will be made available to NBET to show us first how much is the bill for power that has been produced. How much have you collected from your own retailers who are the discos? What is the gap you have? And once we verify that, we pay, so that we keep those who are producing the power in business. Nigerians must have power. And then we go and fix the distribution end. What needs to be done there? Governance issues, financing issues. They need to recapitalize. They need to also show capacity and technical knowledge. They need to meter and stop estimated billings. And as I've said, I could never paint all of the discos with the same tar brush. There are some discos who are working, who are doing their best. There are some who don't understand what to do. There are some who really, they have all sorts of problems.
And you have a problem with them?
I don't have a problem with them.
Because you want an escrow account to work out between you and the discos.
It's not me that wants an escrow account, Gimba. It's central bank that wants an escrow account. Before I became minister, they needed money. They couldn't raise money.
The discos needed the money?
They needed money. They couldn't raise money. That's why you hear complaints about, what is the terminology now? Energy rejection or load rejection. And you wonder, when this thing is not enough, why is anybody rejecting it? The reality is that they have feeders, they have distribution units that either need to be equipped, need to be upgraded, need to be fixed. They can't borrow money. So, essentially, when their designated load gets to those places, they can't deliver it.
But the argument, one of the arguments is...
Now, let me answer the question. I'm just giving you some background to that. So they needed money. Central Bank offered to lend them money under the Nigerian Electricity Market Stabilization Fund, NEMSF fund. You might have heard about 301 billion naira facility. Part of the conditions which they signed before I came was to agree to an escrow. And that makes ordinary common sense. If you take money from somebody, he is entitled to at least ask, what are you doing with the money? So we need to see that the money is going into the industry. I didn't sign that agreement. They did. And when it was time to now, for some of them went to court to say, well, they should stop the... So it's not me. I'm not the regulator of the discos. Let me be very clear about that. The law does not give regulatory authority to the ministry or to me. The law gives me authority to formulate policies. And so what I'm doing really is a coordination and leadership responsibility. The regulator of the discos is NEC.
Don't you supervise NEC?
NEC is an independent agency. It's not subject to my supervision by law. It's a regulator. They work with policies. Of course, they are government institutions, but their independence must be assured What kind of supervision do you see in NCC and Ministry of Communication?
So that's what we want to achieve with.
That's what it was intended to be.
But is that what is?
In the same way, you see central bank and the banks.
Is that what is?
That is what it should be. This is a fledgling industry, mind you. Fledgling industry, privatization is going to be 4 years in November. And this is what I have striven to ensure that it is, because I understand the regime of rules and the value they bring to investment decision making, because investors want to be clear that these are the rules and that a penalty won't be awarded against you if you don't foul anybody.
Are they really that clear about the rules, the investors, discos inclusive?
I think that the rules are clear. Anybody who doesn't know what the rules are should consult people who are knowledgeable and conversant with the rules. As I've told anybody who wants to invest in any business, ask the experts to advise you. What are the rules for tackling in this business? What are the rules? Well, you don't just get into a business because Gimba is doing it successfully. It's just like people who want to set up a broadcast station. There are rules.
Now, some of them don't seem to, they disagreed with when you said you don't have exclusivity of distribution areas unless you can provide electricity.
No. Let them show. I mean, I've read their licenses. Let them show where in their licenses there's an exclusivity clause. Let them bring it up.
So does that mean that consumers, we could go straight to Gencos?
Certain sets. No, that's now you are speaking to another matter. You are speaking to another matter, and we need to be careful here. You're speaking to the declaration of eligible customer, which is a power vested in the minister by the same law that regulates them. And what does this simply mean? It says that certain classes of consumers shall be declared to be eligible, and eligibility then means that they can build their own distribution assets where the DISCO is either unable or unwilling to build the asset. And they need to apply to NERC, not to me. It's just for me to declare. And those classes of customers, and interestingly, we've already seen applications. A steel mill that consumes about 50 megawatts of power in, I think it's in Ilorin, has already applied.
Okay, we'll
and
come
that's
back
what
to
we
this.
want to see.
We'll look at this in a moment when we do return from the break. Don't go away.